To stubbornly conditioned ears, anything new in music has always been called noise. But after all, what is music but organized noises? Noise music is a very real music genre that has existed in name as early as the beginning of the 20th century. It is a style of music that is, in a lot of ways, meant to challenge what we can actually call music. This genre is characterized by 1. The expressive use of noise, such as unnatural sounding instruments and electronic sounds, and 2. Noise music tends to have a lack of harmonies, melodies, and rhythms. It's more so about the sound, about the noise itself. Now, you may be asking, why would anybody listen to this? And to that I would say, I don't know for sure, but why does anyone listen to music? I would imagine for people who really show up to music for the purposes of sonics and production, a genre or style that forgoes everything but the sounds themselves is right up their alley. I can totally see how people who are heavy on production would show up to the many styles of noise music. It is not limited to just one genre, with genuine appreciation. The Art of Noises, a 1913 letter written by Luigi Russolo, outlines the origins of noise as it relates to music with insanely great foresight. Before machinery was invented, the world was typically a quiet place. Only storms, earthquakes, large crowds of people talking were the sparse situations in which the world's otherwise silence was broken. Machinery introduced loud and, importantly, prolonged unnatural sounds to the human ear. Urban life, as society and technology progressed, made the roaring of a car engine as it passes along the street a completely normal sound to us. Many of us don't even have to think about the sounds of cars passing by the street. We're sometimes able to passively tune it out when focusing on other things. Russolo outlined in his 1913 letter that humans growing accustomed to industrial noises would allow for the limits of sounds in music to expand beyond the range of orchestral instruments. More than 100 years later, we can say that he was absolutely right about this. The limits of music continue to be pushed to this day, and what can be called noise music today leads that charge in a lot of ways. For the purposes of K-pop though, this is obviously not what we're talking about when we say something is noise music, though it does set a lot of the groundwork for the industrial sounds we tend to associate with this title. We're a little reckless with what we call noise, and I think that's because this term is primarily used derogatorily. Calling something noise music isn't exactly the best compliment you can give a song in the context of K-pop, even if you are someone who enjoys noise music. If we don't like something musically, our tendency to just write it off as noise is quite inherent to how humans engage with sounds in general. We're not special or unique in how we engage with it in K-pop, which I think is important to remember. So what is noise music in K-pop actually? It is literally anything. The primary scope of noise music in K-pop today are busy, loud, and industrial beats with performers aggressively delivering lyrics or even shouting at times. For boy groups specifically, you make a hard-hitting song once and you're suddenly thrown behind bars in the noise music asylum with no chance of parole. I kind of raise my eyebrow when groups like ATEEZ and Stray Kids are disregarded as noise music entirely. Sure, they do have hard-hitting songs, but that's nowhere near the scope of all they offer. It gets to a point that a song like Stray Kids' Chick Chick Boom is called noise music, and the actual genres it pulls from musically are outright ignored and importantly condemned as just noise. It gets reckless very quickly. My first ever K-pop group was SHINee, who of course set the expectation for boy group music impossibly high for me, but as I've been sifting through boy group discographies throughout this past year or so, I've become kind of disenfranchised with conversations surrounding noise in K-pop. If you're like me and have been historically hesitant to explore boy groups out of the noise music allegations, I will say, and the main reason why I make this video is to say that I've had a very enjoyable year exploring the discographies of groups who receive this title the most. And I also want to say, maybe it's just because I'm somewhat new to the boy group scene at large, but there have been a lot of incredible boy group releases this year that aren't easily characterizable as hard-hitting noise. Nectar by The Boys, Valentine by POW, Lovers or Enemies by CIX, Supernatural by Ace, among many others. So yeah, I guess the main reason why I'm making this video is to say that boy groups like Stray Kids and ATEEZ are not one-dimensional. I don't think anybody would actually argue this. The title of noise music is more so just a weapon that people are comfortable using on music and groups they don't like. It's unfortunate, as I think it tends to actually work on people who would otherwise be open to listening to new types of music. In the end, what we call noise music is not actually the genre of noise music, obviously, though there are some characteristics that do transfer over in conversation. Like all other humans before us and existing today, we just have a tendency to call personally undesirable sounds noise. As it often goes, it all comes down to a matter of personal music taste. I met a lot of people on this channel who show up to music for the purposes of sound and heavy production, in which the songs that get I guess, ensnared by the noise music net certainly meet those expectations. There's an audience for all types of music, as crazy as that seems. It doesn't have to be palatable to everybody. That's all for me. I guess my takeaway from this as I close out 2024 is that I have been genuinely surprised by the discographies that have been labeled as noise music. Even if it is primarily industrial and hard-hitting EDM soundscapes like we tend to see with Stray Kids, the music is certainly not one-dimensional. Stray Kids continue to evolve their production with new ideas. I don't think they're given nearly enough credit for that. And as far as groups like ATEEZ goes, they're the prime example as to why I think this title of noise music is just foolishness. Their discography is so incredibly diverse. I think that's all for me. Maybe you can consider this an incentive to listen to new groups next year if that's something you've been meaning to do. Yeah, thanks for watching this. If you did, let me know what your position or understanding of this is in regards to noise music. How do you engage with the discussion about the term noise, and so on. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time.